Okay, I am going to share this for anybody who wants to know how to replace spark plugs. This is a Nissan Versa, and she's having an issue with this car. It's giving a check engine code, and it's when she presses the gas, it's like it's hesitant. And put the computer on it, and it says cylinder 1 misfire. She said she took it to someone and she spoke to someone about it, and he was like, well, just replace the spark plug in cylinder 1. But I asked her, did she ever replace the spark plug? She says no. This car has 175,000 miles on it. She's the first owner. She got it brand new. And so because she's never replaced the spark plugs, I could see if they were replaced before, you would just fix cylinder 1. But at the same time, if you just fix cylinder 1, how long do you think you're going to have before you have to fix the rest? So we're going to replace all the spark plugs. Now, she bought coils and spark plugs, which is a good thing. So these are the coils. Most of the new modern cars, they don't, the long wire, they don't have the long wires anymore. They have these things right here that are called coils, and they sit on top of the spark plug, and they plug up to the electrical connector. So they do away with the long wires, and these don't really go bad that often. So what I am going to do is I cycled the engine on and off a few times, and I see the code that it reset itself. So that tells me it's only giving it misfire. As she continues to drive it, probably it's not that bad. But I am just going to replace the spark plugs. I am not going to replace the coils, and she can keep her coils. Now here's the kicker. Most cars is so simple. You just pop this cover off here. This case, you see these bolts here. This is like, I would say 10 or 8 millimeter. Let me get some gloves. Okay, so I checked. Those are 10 millimeter bolts. I'm going to use my little mill to help me save time. This thing works much faster than this. And I'll put this to the side. So with this car, the thing about it is replacing, you just pop this cover up, and she wasted a lot of oil. She says she wastes oil. She was putting oil in. I think there's a gasket leak. Just pop the cover off. However, most cars, it's simple. But on this little small engine car, this is a Nissan Versa, you have a manifold covering your engine. So basically, you see here? Yeah, she sure did waste a lot of oil. I'm going to see if I can wipe all of that up before I put it back together. But you see the coils I was showing you right there? Yeah. So you got 4 of them, and you got 4 spark plugs. And this is one over this side. But the other ones, you got to move this entire manifold to get to it, which sucks. So it looks like I'm going to have to take off the bolts down here. 1, 2. So I'm going to have to, I'll stop this, and then I'll show you how to replace. Most cars is not this complicated. You just pop off the cover, and you should be able to access the top of the coils. But I'm going to take all this stuff off. I've got to loosen the manifold. I've got to, looks like I've got to disconnect this throttle body here. Guys, come over here. I got to disconnect this throttle body, all of that. And it doesn't look like I have to take off that much, but we'll see once we get started. I got to disconnect these hoses here. Some of them hoses, they have coolant in it. So, but anyway, let me put the phone down, because look at my hand already messy. I'm going to take this manifold out of the way, and then I'm going to show you guys how simple it is to replace the spark plug. All you pretty much need, there's a special spark plug socket, is a standard size for the spark plug, and that's pretty much all you need. But like I said, let me get this out of the way, then I'll show you. Okay, people of God, giving you an update. Whew. Ladies, if you ain't got no husband and you trying to buy your little small efficient car, something you can easily maintenance, do not get no Nissan Versa. This is crazy how they got this thing here. So anyway, I've already taken the cover off, and I took the little thing connecting to the vacuum here, the breather, off, and I'm about to take the rest of the vacuum hose that goes on into the vacuum, the engine air box. I'm going to take this piece off here. So what I had to do is go find a little 8mm socket, or 5/16, a little small socket, and a special bracket to loosen this bracket. I've loosened that one. Now I'm going to get down here and loosen that one, and I'm going to move this out of the way. So it's a lot of little stuff to loosen. If anybody got this car, then you know, I didn't know what size sockets or whatever be required. I just thought it was going to be, you know, just rather simple, but these other little things, they're different sizes. So it's still simple, but that's what I just had to keep stopping, going to get what size I needed. But yeah, so I'm gonna remove this bolt and then move this little throttle body here. I gotta figure out what size bolt gets on there. I'm thinking that might be 8mm too, because it's small. Looks like it got 3, but I'm assuming it's another bolt on the other side. So let me get to taking that off. I've already unplugged the electrical connector here. So anyway, let me get to taking that off. I got a car like this, a Nissan Versa. You can only use an impact wrench for the top 2 throttle body bolts, and this wrench, this is an adjustable wrench here where you can get it in different spaces. You have to break it with the wrench first, like break it meaning loosen it for the first time, get the pressure off of it because it's been tight in there for a while, and then you can use a little small simple impact wrench just for the top 2. But the bottom ones, you break it and you're gonna have to loosen it by hand. But it helps, what I found, to get into this area without having to remove all of this stuff right here. You don't gotta remove all that. You could just take it, and once you get it loosened a little bit, you can hold this by hand and loosen them, and then you can just take your hand and finish loosening them. It's a rather, you know, it's a long bolt. I mean, not too long, but well, I'm not gonna finish loosening by hand because it's getting tighter to turn. Or you could just loosen it, hold the ratchet, the socket in your hand, and loosen it yourself like that too. There you go. It's just that, like that. It's not that hard at all. All right. Then I'll move this. I'm looking for the less stuff that I gotta take off, the better. So from that, I'll unhook the hoses right here. I'll take, I wonder, let me see if this hose is connected. Yeah, I gotta unhook this hose because it goes into the manifold. And then I'll get to these 4 bolts. And that looks like it's it. That looks like it's it. Only this bolt right here, which looks like a 10mm nut and bolt on back. So it's not that difficult. Just little small stuff need to be loosened, but still I don't like how this design is. My little plan ain't gonna work. I gotta loosen the throttle body hoses because this stays on, but I gotta loosen the throttle body hoses because you see there is a bolt on this end, back end, just as well as there on the other end. So right there, I gotta loosen these hoses because I can't move this throttle body anymore. It's connected to a plug and I don't want to damage that plug. So I gotta unplug it, and then I got to, wait a minute, these are flex hoses, so maybe if I just unplug it I can flex it, but if not, then I just gotta loosen them hoses. Okay, so I got this thing loose. This is the last bolt I took off right here that was holding it in. It was 12mm on each side. I held an open wrench on this side, and then I got the little 5 bolts off here. I removed the throttle body. I ended up having to remove this little vacuum for the vacuum because I had to use that to get to that bottom bolt, and it was in my way here. So this manifold is loose. I gotta put the phone down and wiggle. Oh, maybe I gotta remove this old thing again. I put it back in. I thought I didn't have to remove it. Let me see. Put that on that piece of paper. Maybe that's what I need 2 hands. Okay, now I got it out, and look at this. This should not be oily like that. Look how oily that thing is. I'm gonna try to clean it up, clean it out real good, but that does not look good at all. I'm gonna clean that up, but anyway, I'm gonna clean this up first, and I'm gonna come back and show y'all. These are the 4 coils, and inside of there are the spark plugs. So basically all you gotta do is press this down and unplug. But before I unplug all of that, I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'm gonna plug these holes so nothing falls in down into the engine. But I'll come back, and I want to show you, this is a spark plug socket. So if you're ever changing your spark plug, you need a spark plug socket 5/8. But this tool, like, this is new. I saw this online, and I was like, I thought that'd be cool, because I have a socket, just a socket, and I just always just put my own extension. But this is the swivel socket. It was only like, I think, $8, so I ordered it, and I didn't know it was gonna be here today. I didn't know it was gonna be here by the time I needed it or not. And just so happened, guy from Amazon, he just brought it, so it's right on time. It's a swivel, and it's magnetic, so that's another reason why I like it. Yep, it is made specifically to grab that spark plug, and it's magnetic. Yep, so you can order one of these if you like, straight from, plastic is stuck on it. Anyway, you can order one of these straight from Amazon. Yep, it is made by Lexavon, and it is a magnetic spark plug with a lifetime warranty. Okay, so I have loosened each and every one of the electrical connectors to the 4 coils. Now it's easy. It gets easier as you get all that stuff out of the way. This is what, 10 millimeter? So I got a 10 millimeter, socket to loosen the bolt for the coils. Break it loose, and then I can finish loosening them by hand. Just break all 4 bolts loose. There you go. Alright. So I'm going to show you how to do one. How to replace a spark plug. So I've loosened that bolt. Now you can just pop up this coil, and it had a good seal. Oh wow, it looks good down in there. So that means there's no oil. Sometimes if you see oil getting down in there, then that means you sometimes need to replace your valve cover gasket. So that's one. I'm gonna do one at a time. Well, actually I can do all 4. I'm gonna go ahead, since I got the bolts out, I'll go ahead and loosen all 4. So you see how I loosen the coils? Just take if your car has bolts in them, some cars don't always have bolts, have the coils bolted down. Take those out, and then you just pop the coils out. Just look down in there. See there? Now that looks like it don't look bad, but you can see where it looks like it may have a little oil starting to leak. So it wouldn't hurt to change the valve cover gasket on this car, especially when the valve cover is got all that wet oil around there, right? But I ain't gonna change today, baby. That ain't what I'm bartering for. I'm bartering. I do this little simple thing for me some groceries. That's all. Plus it's cool. I think this is, sometimes it's relaxing. But anyway, I'm gonna put this phone down so I can quickly hurry get these 2 out, then I'll show you how to pull out the spark plug. Let me show you something. See these, the first 2? That one's real clean. That's the second one. Looks like oil is coming around it, right? That's the third one. Clearly, You can see same condition. Now look at this first one. Oil has definitely been in there. So what that's saying is this valve cover gasket can be replaced. Now I didn't bargain. I didn't barter to go through that work. See, sometimes you find little stuff. So being that you got to take all this stuff off, and then that probably would explain why this oil is seeping here too, because that valve cover gasket is bad. So the right thing will be to not just place the spark plugs and put it back, even though I don't feel like doing the valve cover gasket, and baby it won't get done today. But I'm not just gonna put it back. I'm not just gonna change the spark plugs. I am going to wait until a valve cover gasket can be picked up or ordered, and then I'll just go ahead and take this top of this engine cover off, and while I've got everything broken down, just go ahead and replace the valve cover gasket. I'll leave the spark plugs in there because I don't want anything falling into the engine, and then I'll wipe all of this stuff off, get the air gun, blow all of this stuff. And so this is not going to be something I can complete today, because I don't want to put it back together like that. Okay, this is day 2, people. This is the valve cover gasket that I was waiting on. So now I'm about to get started, and I'm gonna take this cover off and replace the gasket and put it back on. Then I will get to taking out the spark plugs, replacing those, and go from there. Day 2, Thursday. Better do it right, then you don't have to go back through all this again, right? All right. So look at here. Get this valve cover gasket off. It's got 7 8mm bolts. 1, 2, 1 on each corner, and 3 down the middle, baby. 8mm bolts. Uh-oh, I dropped my wrench. So, and in order to get that one in the corner off, you're gonna have to loosen this bracket here, just the bolt, so you can move it. That's 10mm bolt. All this annoying stuff. And I want to share these wire connectors. They've been, if anybody got this similar vehicle, these wire connectors, like the insulation, they are brittle, so you don't want to bend them too much because they'll crack. But when you're taking them off, when you're loosening them, like from here, from the zip tie, it's a little zip tie that fits into the holes here and one on the side. You don't have to break that. You can just take a needle nose plier when it's on the other side and squeeze it together and push it through, and it'll come through, instead of just pulling it, because it'll break if you keep pulling it. When you get this valve covered off, if it's dirty, you always want to try to keep it from over the engine, and then flip it over and clean it off. I'll clean it off the top of it before I put it back on there. But when I pick this bad boy up, look, the gasket even broke, and it's real hard and bitter. So this thing was really, really bad. Look at it. This gasket here, see how hard it is? It's just cracking. That's how hard it's dry rot. So that's why you got all that oil spilling everywhere. Yep. Try not to let nothing fall in the engine. I'm gonna have to put this phone down because I gotta take my time and peel that dry rot so that nothing falls in the engine. You want to keep that engine clean. So let me go ahead and get it off. Right here is a plastic gasket scraper. It's like a razor, but I got some of these plastic ones because if you ever have to use metal, scrape gasket off of metal, which I don't think I'm gonna have to do that here on the engine. I think I could peel that off with my hand, and it should come off clean, a clean wipe. But the top of the cover is really, really tough, so I'm gonna have to scrape it. But using a plastic one, it helps to not mess up the surface that you're scraping. You can order one of these from Amazon, and you can get some metal blades if you ever need a metal scraper. This is just a little easy tool to use. So I have removed the gasket from here.
And this is definitely where the oil leak was coming from. Not so much, she said the dealer told her she needed a oil pan gasket, which it is wet on the back of the oil pan, but when I changed the oil on this car, I didn't see where I saw it was wet, but I didn't see where the gasket itself was leaking. It was too much oil coming from some other place. And now I see from before I clean this up, you can see where it was just piled up with oil right here, and all of that was just sitting up in there. Now I've cleaned around there, and I'm gonna go clean the gasket off of the head cover now. I see, this is why if you're doing somebody's car for pay, you don't charge them until after you finish. You give them an estimate, because see, this stuff like this right here, this is the top of the valve cover. I got this gasket out. It's all dry rot. I got this one out, but these right here have been kicking. I'm trying to get it my needle nose and try to get some leverage up under it, just enough to kind of pry them up without breaking this thing. So I gotta sit down in a chair and take my time to work on getting these 3 little dry rotted gaskets out of here, so I can put this thing back together. Yep, charge them, give them an estimate, and you charge them afterwards for your time, because time is money, baby. Finally got that old dry rotted gasket out. It's supposed to be soft, it ain't supposed to be hard like that. Now I can get down to the nitty gritty. All I've got to do is put this in. You just line it up, line up the valve cover gasket. That's simple. A valve cover gasket is simple. It ain't hard. So I'm gonna get this lined up. I'm gonna put the phone down and get this lined up, and I'm gonna put this top back on there, and then I can get down to the nitty gritty of taking out the spark plugs, replacing those, and then I'll start putting everything back together. Yep. The little clips I was telling you about, they dry rotted, so when I was putting this one back on, inside where it came from, it popped here, and that's just to keep the wires from off the engine so it doesn't get hot. So what I'm going to do, I'll take this back off, and I'll just stick a zip tie in there. Let's take it off. I haven't even tightened the valve cover down yet, so it moved. So I'm going to get a zip tie, and I'll just stick a zip tie in there. Simply improvise a little small zip ties. It'll work just fine if those break on you, or if you ever have that issue. This is a torque wrench. I've got the valve cover gasket on. I've hand tightened all 7 of these bolts, and so I looked up the torque specs, called for 35 pounds, inch not foot. So got this is my first time using this. Got this little small, I've got 2 other one of these, but this is a 1/4 torque wrench. And so I've set it at 35, and now I'm just going to go and tighten each one up until it clicks. Valve cover on. Now I'm going to take these spark plugs out, and I want to correct something. I think I showed a tool earlier yesterday before I got started. I think I showed a tool. Turn this light off while I got this one. I think I showed I showed a spark plug tool that I ordered from Amazon. It was 5/8, and I said earlier, I believe I said they're all standard, the 5/8. That's not true. They're not all standard, if I said that. So these spark plugs, they are smaller. The 5/8 spark plug, that works for my car, but this small car, it takes a 14mm spark plug socket, so it's not as nice as the one I ordered. I'm going to order me a whole set of the swivel ones, but yeah, so I rigged this up with 2 extensions here, and I'm going to take out the spark plug starting with number 1. So I get that on there, and you just put it in and unscrew it just like that. Okay, so I believe I have it loose, but because this one is not as nice, because this one is not as nice as the other one that I had, I have something rigged up here. Where do I have a piece of? I have this rigged up so I can stick it out in there, because normally it has a little grommet in there that holds the spark plug, but this one, this little socket I found, it doesn't, and I don't feel like going to buy another spark plug socket just for taking these little spark plugs out. So I'm going to use this here that I rigged up, and what I'm going to do is just stick that in there and get it over the top of the spark plug. If I can get it over top of the spark plug, let me see, and then try to pull it out. Let me see, I might have to unscrew it some more. Let me see if it's oh, I left my little extension. Hold on. Okay, I thought I had it unscrewed. See, it's still coming up. So yeah, it wasn't. That's probably why it didn't work on my little tool, but hey, I got the magnet, so okay, this should be it. Let me see. And just for the record, I just want to see if my tool would have worked. Yes, it would have. So I had the right idea. Now look at this. Look at this, y'all. This lady changed this thing. This is the first time these spark plugs are getting ever replaced on this car. This car was bought brand new in 2011. It's 2022. So these spark plugs on there for 11 years. 11 years, 175 or 78,000 miles. Wow. This car gonna be so happy. Oh, Lord have mercy. All the dirt just come out of there with the spark plug. So anyway, that's it. Let me get to the next one. Oh, shucks. Okay, let me stop this. I know I'm a bit. My neighbor says, you're just a perfectionist. But, I don't know. It worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. Okay. So, we got the hole cleaned out. Now, where's the... Let me get this junk out of the way. Move, Daniel. Move, Daniel, when you. Alright. So what did I do with the doggone spark plug? Okay, so I got the spark plug, and these already come pre-gap. I got a little gapping tool, but they already come preset. So I'm going to stick this back in here. This car is going to be so happy for that. But where did I do with my little special tool? Let me see if I stick this in here. Well, yeah, I can spin this around and tighten it. So let me get this rigged up. Rig my tool back up. And I'll get that in there and tighten it. Then I'll put the ratchet back. That's what you gotta do. Improvise. When you don't have a spark plug socket that can grab the spark plug, the grommet is gone. Just find something to improvise. Okay, so that's tight in there. Not tight, but I can get this off without the spark plug coming back up. So now, let me get my, what did I do with my torque wrench? I'm gonna torque them down, I think 45 foot-pounds. So I got my bigger 3/8 inch torque wrench, because a little small one, I couldn't get this on and I couldn't find an adapter. But I found the specs for the spark plug is 14 foot-pounds. And if you don't have a foot-pound torque wrench, you got a smaller one, then it'd be 14 foot-pounds is about 172 inch-pounds. But I got this set at 14 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna put it on there, put it down in there, baby, and tighten away. Let me see something. I don't think I'm getting a good turn. There we go. Come on. Let me pop this on. There we go. I got a good turn, so you're gonna hear it click when it get to 14. That should be close to 14. There we go. That's 14 foot-pounds. See how that clicks? When you hear that click, you got to set at 14. You know not to go anymore. So that's 14 foot-pounds. It's torqued down. Now I'm gonna do all 3 of these. So anyway, it's getting dark. I'm gonna go ahead and do all 3 of these just like I did the first one. And that is how you replace spark plugs. I'm gonna finish replacing the spark plugs, and I may not stay out here to put all this stuff back together tonight. It's not a lot, but I like to see what I'm doing. Of course, I do have a headlight on, but I worked all day and my feet are aching. So I'm just gonna do the remaining 3 of these just like I did that one, and I'll probably call it a night and start back in the morning, just because I don't like to rush and I don't want to stay out here too much past dark. So that's how you replace spark plugs. And then tomorrow when I come out, I'll do a part 2, so I don't have to keep making this one video so long. So I'll do a part 2 starting on day 3 of doing this. After I start everything up, rev the engine up, drive it, and we should not even have that cold anymore. I was repairing the vehicle initially just for the spark plug because of the P031 engine 1 cylinder misfire. So once I started taking everything apart, we saw that the engine had all this oil every place. We know that the valve cover was leaking. So rather than just replacing the spark plug like some shops would have done and sending her away and telling her, oh, we recommend you also need a valve cover gasket, and then she might be like, well, why didn't you? She probably don't even know. You know, sometimes they play on women because they know we don't know a lot. So they could have, if she would have gone to the shop, it's sad that people do this, but I'm thinking they would have went ahead and replaced the spark plugs, sent her away and let her know you got an oil leak, you need to change your valve cover gasket. And when you see all the stuff I had to take off, so why not do it then while everything is up? But that's how a lot of shops, they make their money. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you find decent shops and they'll tell you, we saw this issue while we were replacing your spark plugs, you need a valve cover gasket. But so yeah, I didn't want to put this back together with that. So in addition to repairing her initial problem, which was the misfire, spark plug replacement is going to take care of that. But we also solved the other problem, which she had an oil leak and she was thinking it was just coming from the oil pan gasket, which wasn't true. The oil everywhere determined that was a lie. So now the oil leak is also repaired. So anyway, I'll show you guys what happens tomorrow. Whenever I get started, I'm going to sleep late and I will get started. I worked all day today. This is not my job. This is just something I am doing that God has blessed me to be able to help. So anyway, that's how you replace spark plugs. And if you also need to replace coils, you see how simple it is to take it off. They don't have the long wires anymore. Most of the modern day cars, they just an electrical connector that connects up to the coils, and that's pretty much it. So once I get those 3 spark plugs out, my job is done. I just have to take my time and put every bolt back where I got it from, everything just how I got it. I just like to do that. So have a blessed night. I hope this helps somebody, and if it don't help you, I just hope you was entertained with your little country bumpkin sister spending time with me out here. We'll replace the air filter as well. She's got an air filter, so once we put everything back together, air filters in here, that's so simple to just pull out. We'll do that tomorrow. Look how cool this wrench is. This is why I like my little different type of wrenches and stuff like that. See how you can just put this wrench in any position, and if it was longer, see, I would have had to keep starting over, but I could just bend that down. I like my wrenches, baby. I like my wrenches. Oh, I like my wrenches. Thank you, Lord, for these cool little wrenches. See, Isn't it cool just learning all this stuff? And the more you learn, the more you're going to get pissed off with them people when you go take your car and you see, now you know what you, even if you don't do it yourself, now you know how they be playing people. Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, y'all have a blessed night. I love you. Watch it. Let me try to use my little tool now. Take this second one off. Oh. Oh, it dropped back. It dropped back. Come on, don't drop back now. Don't drop back. There we go. Look, second one out. Look how bad this thing look.